My wife cheated on me, and I found out in the most unexpected way. First, let me give you some context. Our hero, let's call him TB, is a professional athlete. 42 years old, an American football legend, 7-time Super Bowl champion. Yes, you heard that right, 7 championship rings. This man literally rewrote sports history. TB had been married for 13 years to a woman we'll call W. She's a famous model from Brazil, earning millions of dollars per year. They have 2 children together. From the outside, the perfect family. Beautiful, wealthy, successful. But as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. Guys, I don't know where to start. My hands are shaking as I write this. My whole life I thought I had a solid family. My wife and I have been together for over a decade and a half raising 2 kids. I work a lot, travel frequently, but I always believed that at home a loving family was waiting for me. Over the past few months, I started noticing strange things. My wife became colder. She used to greet me after every game with a smile, asking how things went. Now she barely looks up from her phone. At first, I chalked it up to exhaustion. She has her own career, lots of photo shoots, contracts. But then I started noticing details. She began staying late at work more often. Suddenly there were urgent evening meetings. When I asked for details, she'd answer curtly, irritated. The strangest thing, she stopped being interested in my career. She used to know the schedule of all my games by heart, discuss team strategy. Now she wouldn't even ask how practice went. The post author continues. The turning point happened 3 weeks ago. I came home earlier than usual. Practice was canceled due to bad weather. My wife wasn't home, even though according to her, she was supposed to be home all day. I texted her, asking where she was. She replied an hour later, got called for an urgent shoot. But something about that response bothered me. Usually she tells me about her shoots in advance, complains about sudden schedule changes. But this was just a dry fact. I started paying attention to other small things. She became very careful about her phone. She used to leave it anywhere without worry. Now she always keeps it with her screen down. When it rings, she steps into another room. Her style of dress changed too. She started dressing, how should I put it, more seductively. New lingerie, perfumes that weren't there before. When I asked about it, she said she just wanted to feel beautiful. And most importantly, intimacy. We practically stopped making love. We used to have great chemistry, despite our busy schedules. Now she always found excuses, tired, headache, have to get up early tomorrow. The story continues, and the author tells about his attempts to find out the truth. I'm not the type who likes to suspect without grounds. I decided to talk to my wife openly. I chose a moment when the kids were at school, sat across from her at the kitchen table. Honey, I feel like something's not right between us. You seem distant. She looked at me as if I'd said something absurd. You're overthinking. I'm just going through a stressful period at work. I tried to dig deeper. Maybe we should see a family therapist? Talk to a professional. The reaction was explosive. She flared up, said I was paranoid, that she didn't have time for this nonsense, that if I didn't like something, maybe I should spend more time at home instead of on the field. This conversation didn't clarify anything, only strengthened my suspicions. Healthy relationships aren't afraid of therapy. Why did she react so aggressively to the suggestion? The next few days, we barely spoke. She left early, came back late. I started noticing that on weekends she also found reasons to leave the house. And now, the most dramatic part of the story. The author tells how he learned the truth. What happened next, I'll never forget. It was last Friday. I had an important meeting with my agent about a new contract. We agreed to meet at one of the expensive restaurants downtown. I arrived a bit early, decided to take a walk down the street. And then I saw her car. More precisely, that white Range Rover I gave her for her birthday 2 years ago. I knew the license plate by heart. The car was parked outside a hotel. Not just any hotel, but one of the most expensive in the city. The same one where we spent our wedding anniversary 3 years ago. My heart sank. I thought, maybe she has a shoot at the hotel. That happens sometimes. But something inside told me it wasn't that simple. I went into the lobby. The receptionist recognized me, said hello. I decided to take a risk. My wife is here in a room. Could you tell me which one? The girl at reception smiled. Of course. Mrs. B is in suite 2247. But she asked not to be disturbed until 5 o'clock. The world turned upside down. Why was my wife renting a hotel room? Why ask not to be disturbed? And most importantly, why didn't she tell me about it? I took the elevator up. The 22nd floor seemed endless. My hands were shaking when I pressed the doorbell. Get ready for the most shocking part of the story. The door didn't open immediately. I could hear rustling, muffled voices. When it finally opened, my wife stood before me in a white hotel robe. Hair disheveled, shock and horror on her face. What are you doing here? The first thing she said. Not, hello, not, what a surprise. But exactly that question. I looked over her shoulder into the room, and I saw men's clothing on a chair. An expensive suit that I definitely didn't buy. Who's here with you? I asked. She tried to close the door, but I was stronger. I entered the room, and then a man came out of the bathroom. Tall, athletic build, in the same white robe. I knew him. It was her personal trainer. The same one she hired 6 months ago to stay in shape. The one she suddenly had so many training sessions with. For 10 seconds, we just stared at each other. Then my wife started explaining. This isn't what you think. But I already understood everything. The bed was unmade. The air held the scent of intimacy. On the table stood a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. How long? The only thing I could squeeze out. She was silent. The trainer tried to say something, but I stopped him with a gesture. I needed an answer from my wife. For months, she finally admitted. 4 months. A third of a year, my wife had been seeing another man. While I worked, trained, thought about our family, she was building a relationship with someone else. The author continues describing his emotions. What happened next was a mixture of anger, pain, and disappointment. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just said, pack your things. Move in with him or with your parents. I don't care where. She started crying, saying that everything could be fixed, that it was a mistake. That she loved me, that family was more important to her than anything. If family is important, why have you been deceiving me for 4 months? I asked. There was no answer. The trainer tried to apologize, said he didn't plan for it to turn out this way. I looked at him and said, today you lost not only a client, but your reputation. I hope it was worth it. I left the room and drove home. The whole way I tried to understand where I went wrong. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention. Maybe I worked too much. But then I realized it wasn't about me. If she had complaints, she should have said so, not sought comfort elsewhere. At home I packed her things. Not out of anger, but because I understood there was no going back. Trust was destroyed. And without trust, there is no family. The story nears its end, and the author shares his reflections. That same evening she came home. She saw the suitcases in the hallway and understood that I was serious. We talked, calmly, without shouting. She admitted that the relationship with the trainer started by accident. At first, he just listened to her complaints about our family life. Then he started giving advice. Then he suggested relaxing after a workout. Do you even understand that you destroyed our family? I asked. I didn't want to. I just felt lonely, she replied. Lonely. With a living husband who loved her for 13 years. With children who adore their mom. With financial well-being and stability. I realized we were speaking different languages. For me, family is responsibility, loyalty, working on the relationship. For her, apparently, family is convenience until something more interesting comes along. We told the children that mom and dad would be living separately for a while. We didn't want to traumatize them prematurely. They don't know the real reasons yet. The post author received tremendous support from the Reddit community. I didn't expect such a reaction to my post. In 24 hours, tens of thousands of comments, hundreds of private messages. People sharing similar stories, giving advice, just being supportive. I was especially touched by messages from other men who went through similar situations. One wrote, "Bro, the first few months will be tough. But believe me, life doesn't end. You'll find someone who will appreciate you." Another shared, "I'm 45, divorced 3 years ago after 20 years of marriage. Now I'm happier than ever." Betrayal is a gift. It shows a person's true face. Women wrote too. Many condemned my wife. How could she do this to such a man? She had everything. But most importantly, people convinced me not to blame myself. Cheating is the choice of the one who cheats. Not circumstances, not lack of attention, not relationship problems. It's a conscious decision to betray a partner's trust. In the final part, the author talks about his plans. Now, a week later, I'm already starting to make plans. First, the children. They're staying with me. I'm taking a break from my career to spend more time with them. They shouldn't suffer because of adults' mistakes. Second, divorce. I've already contacted the best lawyers. I want everything to go civilly, but fairly. We have shared business, real estate, investments. We'll have to divide everything. Third, myself. At 42, I'm starting life over. Scary? Yes, but also exciting. I'm free from lies, from the need to live with someone who doesn't respect me. Many ask if I would forgive her if she really asked for forgiveness. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I would have, but trust can't be restored. And a relationship without trust isn't a relationship, it's an imitation. I'm grateful to the Reddit community for their support. I read every comment, every message. It helps me not feel alone in this situation. This story became one of the most discussed on Reddit in the past month. It touched thousands of people who have faced infidelity in relationships. The main conclusions users are drawing. Cheating is always the choice of the cheater, not the result of relationship problems. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to restore. It's important not to blame yourself for others' mistakes. Life doesn't end after divorce, especially if it was inevitable. The post author continues to update his story. Currently, the divorce proceedings are in full swing. The children are adapting to the new situation better than expected. NU/quarterback dad 42 himself says that for the first time in months, he feels truly free. What do you think? Did the author do the right thing? Should he have tried to save the family for the children's sake? Write your opinion in the comments. Hit that like button if this story got to you. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories from Reddit. See you in the next video.